Deming to Devops. Really, this is a story about non-determinism. There's a great book, my good friend of mine, Mark Burgess, talks about in IT, we need to think about quantum physics. Pretty cool, right? So it really is a thread of, there's a head fake. It wasn't Deming. It was actually Darwin. Darwin put a stake in the ground in terms of determinism, right? Origin of Species in 1859, right? Really kind of inspired some people. Ultimately, this next person, Ludwig Boltzmann, who basically is the father of statistical mechanics, right? So he was so fascinated by Darwin, he said, I wonder if I could do this with physics and gases, what he did in biology. So this started this thing of really probability, turning an exact science into not a probability science. And then this guy, Max Planck, comes along, starts playing with Boltzmann's shit, right? And he accidentally comes up with this Planck constant, right? Which is, basically, he measures the unmeasurable, subatomic stuff, right? So, which is cool. Nobody's doing it except old Dr. Albert. Thank you, Planck. This is the thing I needed for this photoelectric effect, right? Because that was the shit that, that was the shit that basically allowed him to really figure out the basics of quantum physics afoot. Now, Walter Shewhart comes in, he's a physicist. Here's the thing, they're all physicists. He basically starts taking Boltzmann ideas to quality of phone at Western Electric. Bad phones coming out, let me use statistics, let me use probabilities, and try to fix shit out. Edward Deming, a student of Shewhart, loves his ideas about variation, statistical process control. In 1950, Deming goes over to Japan to basically help them rebuild the country. And he says that to 80% of the wealth of Japan, that if you listen to my ideas, in 5 years you will be successful. Taiichi Ohno, basically lean Toyota production systems, basically kind of took his advice. And you basically have invented one of the kind of most interesting companies that ever existed in manufacturing, if you've heard of lean, right? So lean production, lean Toyota system. My favorite guy, Elliot Goldratt, right, he writes this book called The Goal. It's a novel about the theory of constraints. It's a brilliant book. How many people have read Gene Kim's The Phoenix Project? Anybody? Anybody know? Anyway, Gene's book is a rewrite of Elliot Goldratt's. The Goal is fantastic. John Krafcik basically goes ahead and he basically describes lean. He writes a white paper at MIT Sloan. It basically starts the idea of Americanizing this idea of lean, right? And Jim Walmark writes the book, the Machine That Changed the World. And then, Deming comes back. Deming is 80 years old. He writes this book called New Economics, where he defines something called a system of profound knowledge. It is profound. It's amazing what he does. Most people have heard of Deming. If you haven't, you really should. Again, game changer. Martin Fowler, again, iconic people, right? There's a lot of people involved. They call it the shoulder of giants, right? Agile Manifesto signer in 2001, but more importantly, very important in the Agile movement, part of ThoughtWorks. You've heard of Jez Humble. Jez Humble comes from the ThoughtWorks continuous delivery. Mary and Tom Poppendieck, they now move the ball a little bit further. They actually say lean should be part of software development, right? So we see this thing moving around, but it's moving in a kind of a thread here that's getting somewhere to DevOps, right? So now software, Agile is taking off, R&D, and then David J. Anzinson, right? He's reading The Goal on a plane ride, right? And he's basically managing a large lean agile development, and he has an aha moment and says, holy crap, we could take manufacturing Kanban and turn it into Kanban for software, right? Kanban, big part of DevOps. Stephen Bell changes the game again, says there's a thing, why don't we apply lean to IT? He writes a book called Lean Enterprise System in 2005. 5 years later, he writes Lean IT, wins a Shingo Award for lean, pretty awesome, with Mike Orz, another good friend of mine. And then Stephen Blank, how many people have heard of Stephen Blank? Right, 4 Steps to Epiphany, right? Amazing book, basically describes, in some ways, customer development, Gemba, get out of the office, walk around, all that good stuff. But the most important thing about Stephen Blank is Ries stole all his stuff. No, shouldn't say that. He was brilliant to actually put it together and tie it to lean. I think that was really why it was important. He wrote Lean Startup. Lean Startup now is the manifesto for entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. If you look at GE and what they're doing with Lean Startup, it's amazing, right? So Simon Sinek, if you hadn't read Simon Sinek, open up your Kindle right now, order it. He basically start with why is amazing. Most people start with the what, they get to the how, and they never get to the why. And Deming said that years ago. He called it the aim. And then next up is Gene Kim, my favorite. Gene Kim decides that he's going to rewrite Elliot Goldratt's The Goal, but instead of enclaves and automatic robots, it's going to be a Java stack and a sysadmin, right? There we have DevOps. And Gene's goal was to change the life of 1 million IT professionals. And then we have the godfather of DevOps, Patrick DeBois, who has been the guy who coined the term DevOps. He has been the steward of this amazing movement that I've been proud to be involved with. And thank you very much.